Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20, and welcome to episode 85 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series, where I am really enjoying the tick accelerators that Rats offers. Number one, they really are quite fast. You can see like how much faster, like this is literally one rat, right, processing, right? So like, here's not one rat, and here's literally one tick accelerating rat. Not too shabby. Yeah, not bad at all. So I've been kind of trying to balance my rats so that we're producing as much and processing as much uranium as we can. And there's a reason that I'm doing this, trying to speed this process up. Because we got about 2,000 uranium left to process. We've got about 30,000 uranium ingots stored inside the refined storage system, which is nice. Speaking of, how are we doing? We got plenty of space. We're fine. We're fine on space. And I even threw a tick accelerating rat. He's hiding underneath this basic chemical tank, but you can see his tail. See him? Hey, little buddy. I hope. I don't know. Oh, whatever. But he's doing a really nice job with our pressurized reaction chamber, like really speeding up that process rather nicely. And the reason that I've been doing this is I've been paying attention to my reactor and how it's doing, and it's doing great. However, there are some bottlenecks in our process. Because we made such a large reactor, we are now processing the fissile fuel a lot faster than we're producing it. And one of the bottlenecks was sulfur dust, which I've now solved. But I also noticed that like part of that bottleneck is having enough sulfur produced. And part of the reason, and we're not even using the sulfur here right now for this process, right? Not really. But what we are using the sulfur for is this. So I'm like, well, if I can get past this massive backlog of uranium ore that I have to process, then I can focus on making sure that we're producing enough sulfuric acid for what we would normally be using it for, which is just fissile fuel, right? Like, yeah, every now and then we're gonna, ore quintuple here, but we don't have a lot of ores in our quintupling list. It's really just like 2 or 3. And it's rare that we're going to run into that too often. Like 99% of the time, these machines are going to be sitting idle. So I'm going to pick up all these rats when I'm done clearing the backlog of uranium, which shouldn't be too much longer because we're at 1.8K now. And you can see we're cooking through it pretty quickly. So maybe 5 or 10 minutes and we'll be done processing all this stuff. And then what I'd like to do is leave some rats. I'm going to leave the sulfur-producing rat underneath there so that he's continuously running the fastness. And then, I think the tick accelerating rats are really quite useful. Like, even better than I anticipated originally. So I can just leave them there and let the tick accelerating happen. And then we'll still have a few in this sack here ready to go. So with that said, because I've built up a big backlog of fissile fuel, let's see where we're at with sodium at the moment. Because we should have a decent amount of sodium coolant available, and we do. See how much more sodium we have in the fission reactor, even though this guy over here has 113,000 buckets or so of superheated sodium in use. We still have a decent amount here, which means I should be able to bump my burn rate up. So if I bump you to like 250, see? No problem. Remember before we could barely handle 205? Now, what's up? So let's see how much further we can push this envelope, right? So if I go 275, how's my coolant doing? All right, so not quite. What if we did 265? Would that be doable? And remember, we always want to activate it with the button over here. Otherwise, our shutdown thingy won't work, right? So how about 255, right? Now we might be running into that flow problem that we've seen before, where we can start it at a certain number, but not have it always going at a certain number, because this thing's going to see 250 is too much at this point, and I'm thinking that's similar problem that we had before, which is circling back and getting somebody to behave. So is it water? Yeah, look how quickly we run out of water. So part of the problem is probably you guys just not being watery enough, right? Just not being watery enough. And my thoughts are you just, not handling the amount of water that we need to handle? It's possible. So I want to get this thing really well balanced if I can. Let's do like 230 and see how you do if I activate you. See, look, and then at some point, still quite not good enough. But that at least bought me the time that I need to see where our choke points are, right? And if we can figure out where we're choking on stuff, that would be cool. So definitely ran out of a lot of water. And you've got a lot of steam here Flow rate's pretty good. So I think we're handling the steam well enough. I think it's really the water. Hey, see, look, you stayed activated that time, so that's kind of neat. You did. You did. Right? I want to make sure that I can start you and you'll stay started. Because the problem is it looks like it drains a lot of coolant, and before the coolant can get back into a repeating cycle, it overheats. So we want to make sure that the flow of water and coolant is fast enough such that that doesn't happen. Right? So see all that water being gone? That's bad. And that's why we're rapidly overheating and triggering the problem that we are seeing. Right? And I think it might just be the flow rate. Possibly the flow rate? Possibly the flow rate of something. I am noticing that not all these guys are filled with water, which has me a little bit concerned. Not quite sure why that would be the case. So what if we decided to pump more water into our boiler here, and remembering that this guy will void excess water, right? Dump excess. So that might be cool. That might solve our problem. So let's see if we kick this guy on now. I mean, he definitely filled back up nice and quick, and we did not have the problem with this guy, you know, getting overheated. Let's keep an eye on him real quick. We turn him on, and yeah, not a problem. Booyah, that's what's up. So I think that absolutely solves our problem. Pumping more water into our boiler, huge, huge solution right there. I think the other thing we can do now is try ramping this guy up, right? So if we bump him up to 260, can you handle that from a fresh start? Yeah. Yeah, he seems like he can. Cool. All right, how about 275? We might be pressing our luck here. Scram. Might still be pressing our luck a little bit, but we're getting close. As you can see, we're getting closer and closer to the 328 max that we can handle here. It's just about waiting for even more sodium, right? Yep. Yeah, too much, right? 265. Can we start with a 265? Oh, yep. 265 is like, right. See how we were starting to gain heat there? And then, nope, we're cool. We're cool. Literally. Literally cool. I wonder if it would make sense to have like more mechanical pipe buffering here. Because these guys can what? They can pump at 64,000 millibuckets per tick, but they have a capacity of 512. And you have a buffer of like a lot. So what if, and I'm being a little silly here, but what if we just used these as nice big, what other tank options do we have? I don't think we want tanks. I think we want the pipes to be our threshold here. So if I added piping here, right? So remember before, when we turned this on, we just barely made it, right? We started gaining temperature, and then we cooled off in time, right? So let's see what happens if I add more water to the buffers. And we could do that by doing something like this. Cool? Cool? And by doing that, now when I turn this on, do we ever get hot? No. No, we do not. See how that worked? Because we have more water in the buffers here to handle that, and it keeps it going. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to get a few more sinks. Okay. And that shouldn't be too big of a deal. Okay. And I might even get a few more valves, because that'll be fun. Okay, and then we'll try to keep this thing as cool as possible. I don't know how it's going to work out, but we're going to do our best. Cool. So there's your that thing. And remember, the whole goal here is like, let's see how ridiculous we can get with nuclear reactors and that kind of stuff. And I'm just having fun with the whole let's be crazy thing. Right? So there's no reason we can't just put a whole line of valves here. Right? And a whole line of sinks here. And make sure that you're set like that, and that should be cool. Because the pipes can transfer the fluids very quickly, right? Ultimate mechanical pipe. And that should be nice. I feel like I should just get one more of each, just because. Just because it almost feels silly to have 8 out of the 9 slots there, like just because, right? And one more valve. That seems fine, right? I like that plan. So then that can be right here. We'll replace this dude, ultimate mechanical pipe, extract, and now we should be really good on water keeping up over there, right? So we should have like plenty of water. See, he did dip a little bit, but not much. Not much at all. And this guy had no temperature problems, I assume. So now what if I bumped you up to like 275, right? Just curious, will you be able to... So we're getting a little bit of a heat gain, and it's a consistent heat gain, which means it's not a flow problem, it's a not enough sodium problem, right? Because when I activate this dude, we lose a bunch of sodium, and we'll get a little bit of it back, but not enough to keep us running at that temperature, okay? So we need to still boost up the amount of sodium that we're producing. But remember, you know, we started this thing, we were able to do like 150, and then we got it up to like 200, and now we're getting it even higher, right? So this thing's able to run at 265 millibuckets per tick right now, which for the record, you know, this guy's boil rate is at 5.2. Apparently he can handle more, right? 25, right? Max water 14,000. So I think we're cool. I think we're pretty good in terms of our boil rate. Yeah, like, see, this thing's barely... you know, making a dent. The sodium number is kind of big here, so I'm hoping that we'll be able to handle as much sodium as we want to pump in, but I guess we'll find out. And then you are right around steam input. You're like halfway there, right? And considering our reactor's running at more than halfway, my assessment of the situation is that we will be fine here, right? I feel like that's accurate, right? We should be fine. Because, you know, you're about halfway. You're not even close, right? You're about, you know, 20%. And this thing's running at well beyond 50% power, right? So I think we'll be okay. We just have to get even more sodium going on. Which, speaking of, I wonder if I can tick accelerate those, I'm thinking I probably maybe can't, but maybe I can. There might be a way. Let's go check on our uranium, right? How are you doing? Oh, are you done, uranium? That would be exciting. Yeah, you are. Hooray! Rats with me. Uranium complete. So you're with me. And we should have about 9 of these guys right now, by the way. Right? Yes, 9 rats, because I had 10, and one of them staying under there for sulfur. Cool. So now you're no longer... I mean, you are dumping sulfur into this to fill up whatever backlog exists in the sulfuric acid thingy, but eventually he'll fill up and be done, right? Now, what I could do... I wish there was a way from this rat sack to empty, like, 1 rat at a time. But that should be kind of doable, right? And I don't know if my sulfur production back at my base will be able to keep up with this demand, but maybe? I'm not 100% sure. I guess we'll find out. But I mean, that's producing a lot of sulfuric acid, which is nice. It's definitely faster. But like I said, we might have a sulfur production problem. We'll find out, I guess. He seems to be doing okay. Definitely faster, at least, but we'll find out. Now, let's go find out about tick accelerating over here, these guys. So remember, the rats have to be underneath the block that they want to tick accelerate. I would imagine it's this one that we want to tick accelerate, right? I mean, that seems reasonable. So we're currently producing 2101 millibuckets per tick of brine, right? Accurate, I would say. So let's... Can I break you? Right? And now we're producing less than that, right? 1681, right? Because it's minus 420-ish. What if I did this and had the controller here? Can the controller be there? No, it cannot. So that's definitely a problem. Okay. And now we're going to get into some magic, which, in my opinion, we should probably run a backup before we start playing with too much. Okay, so you're at 420, you're happy, and everybody's 2101 again. So now, like, I assume that I can't just, like, put the rats here, right? That's not gonna... Nothing, right? That's not close enough. And it says it has to be under or on top, right? So if I put them here, that doesn't help either, right? Nope, Definitely not. All right, now for, gee, I wonder if this is going to be a really bad idea or not. Before we do it, FTB backup start. Because this might be a terrible idea, but we're going to try it. It may not work at all. I think it's probably got about a 40% chance of working, a 50% chance of not working, and a 10% chance of crashing my game. So, hence backup, right? If you're going to do something really crazy, always back up your world first. FYI, world backups take a little longer now because I got dimensions that I went exploring. Oof. Oof. So... Huh? Maybe? Maybe. Could I entangle that block, right? I mean, I'm just saying maybe. Because I got to imagine the tile entity that does the ticking is the controller. And the controller is not accessible to the rats, right? So if I were to entangle this dude, right? Because I can't just, like, you know, put the rats up on top of, or I could put them under, right? So, like, this would be a place to put them. If this block responded to tick accelerating, but it doesn't, right? So I got to assume that the block that does the ticking is this guy, right? So how bad of an idea do you think this is? Block selected, block bound. All right, I think it fell into the category of it just doesn't work. It was worth a try. I feel like when I placed them, I saw this thing flicker. Am I crazy? Maybe it just has like a little animation on it, and that's okay. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be working. I was just curious if that would work. I mean, we're very close to having enough sodium in all of our systems that I don't think I'm too worried about it. But I was just trying to see if we could speed up the production of sodium beyond what we've already got. And the answer is pretty much no. Not a big deal, though. I'll tell you what, though, leaving this on, we are definitely burning through our fissile fuel faster than we're producing it. But that's okay. So anyway, let's look at antimatter now, because we should have a sufficient backstuffing of this stuff, right? I mean, 575 billion RF seems pretty good to me. Also, our production rate at the moment is 13 million RF a tick. Not too shabby. So if I were to turn you on... right, your energy input is pretty respectable, right? I made it 2.5 million RF a tick for each. Now, several people have commented on the math. I don't need this much power pumping into this thing to convert antimatter as at least my small reactor was running. Somebody gave me the numbers. I think it was like 400,000 RF a tick or something like that, or I forget. But, you know, now that I have a big reactor running too, like, we need to... you know, account for that, I would say. So it's something to keep in mind, right? I really hope, by the way, that I think, yeah, no, we should be fine, right? This thing builds up a lot of nuclear waste during nighttime, but it should build up and have enough storage because our piping is really long, and since they're all ultimate pipes, they'll store a lot of nuclear waste before any kind of problem. So I think we'll be fine in that regard. So I don't think we'll have a problem with it. Like, if you don't have enough storage for nuclear waste, it's conceivable that if you just had solar neutron activators processing your nuclear waste, you would backstuff nuclear waste overnight, right? But since I have so much piping under there, I would say that that's probably next to impossible. So I think one thing I'll do for the time being is disable the limit on this guy. So now you're getting 58 million, right? What if I disable the limit on you too? So now your transfer is 0. Okay, so you will not accept more than 58 million total for the multi-block, despite the fact that there's multiple inputs, right? So 58 million is kind of your limit on inputs, because I want you to process antimatter quite quickly. Mostly because I want to play with Antimatter today a little bit, if I can. And that's kind of my plan. So let's let that process. Let's keep an eye on you. So you should be draining, right? Where input is 13 million, right? That's how much our reactor is producing with all the steam. Our output's 60 million. So it's a huge net loss. But we also have a really big buffer. So it maybe will clear out. And then what I'll do is once that clear out is complete, and we've cleared out all this polonium that's in these pipes here, right? Because I'm pretty sure these will be empty still. Yeah, they're pretty empty, right? The reason they're showing an amount is because it's going through them. So, like, that's what this is producing. Which, wow, you are just taking a long time to clear nuclear waste out, aren't you? I hope one solar... I haven't actually tested this, but is one solar dude enough to clear out all the nuclear waste that you're producing? I guess we'll find out. At some point, this will empty. And then I'll turn on the reactor and find out how quickly this drains. Is that fair? I think that's fair. All right, we'll be right back. And I mean, I almost, after all this time, almost have 1 bucket of antimatter. So that tells you how hard it is to get this stuff. Which, in fair, I think that's fair, right? In real life, antimatter ain't exactly easy to get. So I think it's a fair assessment that antimatter's, requires a lot of effort here. All right, so what I'm going to do is turn on our reactor. And you're staying running, right? Nice and stable. Beautiful. And then over here, we're just going to make sure that you can handle this. No sweat. Yeah, I don't know what the processing speed of this thing is, but well beyond what our reactor is currently producing. Like, not even breaking a little bit of a sweat. So I think we don't have anything to worry about there. All right, now we just need to wait for this to process the backlog of polonium that we've had forever. And then we can reduce this guy back to his original limit, and we should be cool. Deal? I like it. At least until we run out of power, which will probably happen at some point. Well before. I don't know if we'll run out of power before we run out of polonium to process. But my suspicion is yes. My suspicion is yes, we will run out of power before we run out of polonium to process. I mean, we have a lot here, but think about how much power we just burned through. We literally just burned through 200 billion RF. All right, that's a lot. That's a lot of RF. So here's what I'm noticing now. I sped up this guy and sped up this guy, and that's helping to make enough fissile fuel. But I think our bottleneck at this point is the quantum entangleopers. I don't think he can transfer fast enough. If you notice over here, we have just barely a net loss happening on this thing. So I think what I'd like to do, if I may, and I thought maybe adding a pressurized tube here would help, but no, it doesn't. It doesn't. So what I think I might wind up doing is getting another fission reactor port. So let me toggle this dude off for a sec. And he should be net gaining, right? So let's get a reactor port here. And another quantum entangleoper. Right? And I'm gonna pop you like right in here. And you, I'm going to break. Because I want you to clear out. And then you can give me that. And then you can be fissile fuel set, where your gases are output eject on, and you should be filling up, right? Okay, cool. I'm gonna make a second fissile fuel thing. Cool. So you are going to be fissile fuel 2. Okay. And your gases will be inputting. And then you should output out the back as well. So I don't know if the bottleneck is the chemical tank or not, but I guess we'll find out. It's either the chemical tank itself, which maybe he has a limit on how much he can transfer. I don't actually know. Maybe we need a higher tier chemical. I don't know. Or it beats me. That actually might be it, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. What if we got a higher tier chemical tank? Or didn't have a chemical tank at all? That also might be a smart move. Right? What if we just said no chemical tank for a minute? Right? We made you fissile fuel set. And then your gases are red, right? So now fissile fuel is filling up here. So if we took that tank out of the bottleneck, right? And then you can output eject on fissile fuel set. Will you be filling up faster, you think? He might actually be. So if I turned you on at this point, are you going to be able to maintain the fissile fuel? Yeah, I think our bottleneck was not the quantum entangloper. I think it was actually this chemical tank. So that kind of does make sense. Okay, that's neat to know. How is, by the way, our buddy over here doing? So I gotta imagine we're getting low at this point. It's been a while. I did throttle it again so that we weren't burning through the power as fast. But yeah, we definitely have a lot of backlogged polonium here for sure. But hey, we have 2.1 buckets of antimatter, so that's fun. Nice. Can I bump you up, you think? Can I get you to 275? Doesn't seem to be a problem. 290? That might be asking for too much. All right, do 275. Can you do 275 from the start? Yeah, no problems. All right, cool. 280. Keeping an eye. Nice. 285. We're getting somewhere. Yeah, heat's climbing now. All right, so 280 seems to be about where we want to be. And yeah, look, we didn't have any heat bump. I think because of all the water changes we made. All right, so this is kind of, I don't know. I'm hoping you guys are enjoying this content because it's a lot of constantly adjusting flow rates and making this reactor capable of running at such a high heat and producing so much waste and so much power. I'm hoping that that's entertaining for you guys to watch. I don't actually know. I guess I'll find out. But I mean, let me know in the comments. Is this cool? Or is this like, all right, Dyer is a little boring? If it's a little boring, then fair enough, right? But hopefully you guys think it's neat to see all this happening, right? I really do hope you're enjoying it. But yeah, long story short, we're doing pretty good on fissile fuel. Not a problem. And over here, you're happy too? Yeah, buddy. That's awesome. So we're now producing enough fissile fuel for this thing to constantly run. This guy's running at a throttle of around 15 million RF a tick, right? If we came down here, we're probably close to producing that much because I think by bumping up that reactor, yeah, we're at 14.4 million. So we're really pretty darn close. We're basically using a million RF a tick more than we're producing at this moment. I'd really love to burn through all that antimatter, but we'll see. And just to throw another monkey wrench into the mix here, we could totally run both of these at the same time, right? I feel like the answer is yes. I feel like the answer is yes. And if we're running both of these at the same time, then we should be producing about as much power as we need. Yeah, look at that. We are very much almost breaking even here. I don't know if we're net gain or loss, but it's almost a perfect break even on the power use and power generation. So I'll take that. So with this throttled, right? So to be fair, we're doing 15 million RF a tick, which should be well more than enough clearing the backlog of polonium, I think. And if I'm right about that, then cool. All right, so let's see what we can do with some of this. What kind of cool things can we do with antimatter? Right, so there's the QIO system for Mechanism, which I think is an applied energistics refined storage style thing. I'm not ready to look at that, but I will probably want to at some point. There's also the teleportation unit, provides for quick travel in the nearby blocks. But that goes into the mecha tool, which we haven't looked at yet, and I kind of want to. We can also make the antiprotonic nucleosynthesizer, which is the thing that makes all the bananas stuff. And you need very small amounts of antimatter, right? So for 2 millibuckets of antimatter, we can turn red wool into a block of redstone. That's kind of cool, right? Tin can turn into iron, right? 4 millibuckets of antimatter can turn coal into diamonds, diamonds into emeralds for another 4 millibuckets. So, I mean, there's some cool stuff we can do with this. Make no mistake. I have no idea what this stuff is, because for some reason it's not showing the tooltip, but ticks required 1,000. That's not bad, right? That's like 50 seconds or so, I think. And I assume that's tick acceleratable. You can also make lapis blocks. So the main thing you can get from this that I would say would be, like, the most exciting thing, I guess. I guess quartz and glowstone is kind of nice, too. But really the main stuff would be diamonds and emeralds from coal. That's kind of a cool thing for antimatter to go for. We might wind up making that. And then there's also the gravitational modulating unit. Experimental technologies and the tremendous energy of antimatter allows the user to defy gravity. Pretty sure that's going to be creative flight. Now the question is, do I want to get this in lieu of the angel ring that I'm wearing at the moment? Because this thing might provide for some real nice speed. I don't know. So I think As a reminder, it takes, in a chemical crystallizer, a full bucket of antimatter to make some antimatter pellets, right? And I'm pretty sure I can't just pick up a bucket's worth of antimatter and do the thing. So we want to be very careful about getting antimatter in it. I don't know. Can we get the antimatter out of it? I guess would be a good question, right? So if we were to get the chemical crystallizer, right? Which would be a bunch of things, which I'll craft right now. Reactor glass, go away. Auto-craft, my pretties. Should get there eventually. There we go. What if we... And I'm just spitballing here. What if we... Basic chemical tank is empty. That's cool, right? So nice and empty. Empty, empty. Oop. Right? So I don't think I can, like, snag a bucket of this, obviously. And I'd really like to not waste any. So I guess my question is, if I had you ejecting on the bottom, and then I tried to get this out of here, is there a way to do that? I'm assuming no. But hey, here comes antimatter, so that's cool. Neato. Right, yeah, so is there no way to get this antimatter back out? It doesn't look like it, right? I think not. But I think what we could do is just disable the output real quick when it gets close to a bucket's worth. I'll have to see if there's a way to get this out. Yeah, but it's not a huge deal, right? We obviously just let this do its thing. We'll make it, and then, yeah, that'll be neat. Alright, so let's try and decide what I want first. I think the first thing I'm going to want to use this antimatter for is going to be the anti-protonic nucleosynthesizer. I think that'll be a good thing to make. And the reason I want to make this is because it's easy access, mostly I would say more so to emeralds than diamonds, but also just to check it out because it looks cool, right? Being able to turn coal into emeralds and diamonds just sounds awesome. And granted, it uses a bit of nuclear, or of antimatter, but, I mean, is that big a deal? I think not. I think it's fine. So there you go. There's our first two pieces of antimatter doing its job. So what I'm thinking is, I'm going to put you here, right? And that way I can toggle the output for this tank into here as well. And then what I'm going to do is move you to here. Cool. And now you've got... Oh, look at that. Okay, so that's power. That's the first time I've seen Mechanism use this bar-type measurement for energy. That's why I was confused as to what that green bar was. But it's energy, so now we know. Alright, that's cool. That's cool. So now if I wanted to, I can just simply doot, and now you're dumping antimatter. If I set your gases to input from all sides, and your antimatter is building up, don't you need antimatter? Yeah, antimatter. Shouldn't you be accepting that then? Oh, you're the back. Oh, I see. I see. I mean, you shouldn't be the back. I can break this, right? Antimatter is not gonna nuclear waste me, am I? Yeah, I think we're cool. Hey, there we go. Now we're filling up. Sweet. Alright, cool. And then, you know, when I'm done, I just boop and boop, and now you're back to making, you know, antimatter pellets for me, which is kind of cool. Alright, so now if I got a piece of coal, I can turn... Oh, that's neat! Did you see that? That was so cool. That's without any speed upgrades. That was pretty quick. I don't think he even accepts speed upgrades. He looks like he only accepts muffling. But that was a neat... That was cool! That was cool! Alright, coal to emeralds. It's almost as good as dirt to diamonds, right? But, you know. To be fair, what episode number are we on? How many episodes have we spent doing this? I mean, so to be fair, this ain't that OP. It requires quite the infrastructure to set up. But that is also very cool. That is also exceedingly cool. Alright, nice. I'm going to turn you off for a minute, I think, so that you're no longer exporting this antimatter. That's my only bummer, is that I can't get this antimatter back out. because gases can't eject, so your only option is inputs, right? It's input or not. Which is a bummer. A little bit of a bummer. But not gonna lose sweat over it. So, that's pretty neat, right? I think that's cool. So we're still producing lots of steam. Everything's still keeping up with our 280 here. We're really close to the 320. I think we just need a little bit more sodium, and we'll be happily producing even more power here. So let's see how we're out at here, actually, by the way. Can I do 285? Pretty close, but not quite. 284, maybe? 284 cools down, so that's right about where we're at, the 284 to 285 mark. We're actually really close to 285, it looks like. So we definitely need a little bit more sodium production, but that's okay, because our sodium production back at our main base is just chugging along. So how about we wrap up the episode here? We had some fun ramping up uranium. We ramped up the production of a lot of things. We're doing really good on our antimatter production. All around, I feel like we're in pretty good shape. And remember, we could always go fusion power if we wanted to get even more ridiculous, because I'm pretty sure fusion does even more power, doesn't it? I would hope it does. I mean, it's fusion. It's got to do more power than fission, right? I don't remember what RF protect fusion generators did, but I got to imagine it's pretty good. I would hope. But don't forget, we also have big reactors if we wanted to go crazy with power gen. You know, there's plenty of other mods that we could do to generate lots of power. But I think what we'll do is take a break from Mechanism Power Gen next episode and look at doing something else. For now, though, you know what they say, it's wrapping up point. Darwell20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We'll come back next time to get into some new shenanigans. For now, take it easy.